This is Adrienne, Step Up for Mental Health, and I'm going to do a series of, because this month is Suicide Prevention Month, and just want to talk about a couple of topics. So, one of the topics is, people will talk about the 5 steps, and, the 5 steps of understanding when someone is in trouble. And of course, I'm a peer, I'm not a psychologist in any shape or form. Though I studied a lot, worked with kids who are struggling. I worked with kids who are in a mental hospital. And I took care of my mom since I was a baby. And I've been in support groups and a crisis counselor, that kind of thing. So some things I do know. So one of the things I want to talk about is the 5 signs, and I'm going to do one each day. As you know, some people go through depression, where the situation depression, you know, if they're going through situation depression, I guess is kind of categorized as people going through a moment or a crisis, whether it's somebody who died in their family or a loved one who died, their spouse, maybe a job loss. That's really traumatic. For me, I lost my job for 2 years, and that was a big dramatic thing for me. Some people have maybe some type of illness that might trigger some things. Maybe it's cancer, and the grief of knowing that you're terminal, or you are might die could do that. So some kind of dramatic event that can cause situational depression, that kind of thing. And then it's people who just have many types of things, like people who have depression or bipolar disorder or other types of issues. And so I also talk about fibromyalgia, which I have, which is one of the symptoms is depression. Though for me, I have some people have more depression, some people have more pain. I tend to have more pain. And then so everybody has dealing with something. And so what are some signs when you're over, you're kind of over your quota? You can't deal with some of the issues that are happening with you anymore. And so that's when, seeking out support, help. Family members sometimes don't know what to do. And even the person who's dealing with it doesn't know what to do. So I think we need to come and think about some of the 5 signs. And I think we did that last year, where people are, for one sign that might happen, if it's being withdrawn. So a person who's active, the person who's out there with friends and doing things like life and jobs and everything, and then all of a sudden, or gradually, slowly, the person's changed, personality's changed. And so that's one sign where we can start thinking about, what's going on. And a person who I think who's withdrawn might be going through a lot of things. And when I went through my situational depression, I'm going to just say, I just wanted to kind of be by myself. Like I was, and it happens, people say, I think psychologists say, over 2 weeks or more, when you're feeling extremely heavy. And so when the person is withdrawn, they don't want to seek outside relationships, whether it's family, friends, whether it's They might start missing work. They might start missing school. And so they might just want to kind of sleep all day. They might want to be in their rooms or their house or not talk to people. So normally you might get a call from your sister who you always talk to every week. All of a sudden they don't want to talk to you, or they don't pick up the phone, that kind of thing. So being withdrawn is one symptom where people just kind of, lost the spark of life and they just want to be alone. And that's actually the danger of, as we talk about suicide prevention, is that that's when the thoughts come. So when someone is literally inside themselves over 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, it can go 6 months. That's when you kind of have to, in a way, if you're a caregiver, think about kind of butting in. And it's going to be hard because, the person's might not want to hear it. But you have to, I think, try to help someone get motivated. Or, it might not be your job, but you want to talk to them, saying, it's no issue saying to somebody, have you thought about suicide? And because people think that suicide is if you say suicide, that somebody was going to do it. But that's actually not true. I actually talked a couple people down where I asked that question. Somebody reached out to me, and it was, those are the first questions I'm asking. Of course, I'm asking depending on what's happening. For example, if they thought about suicide, then you want to ask, have you thought about how? Doesn't mean that they're going to do it. You're just trying to figure out if they actually need more support than you can give. So if they need to go to seek a therapist, medical attention, they need to, you need to call 911, that kind of thing. You're trying to find out where are they at. So if they just thought about, oh no, I'm depressed, but I've been like this for a month, but I haven't even thought about ending my life, death by suicide, then then that's fine. Then you just kind of motivate them. But if they literally have a plan, a goal, thought about it different ways, that's when that's something to be concerned about. And so think about when we're talking about someone being withdrawn, that's a time where a lot of families and friends don't want to reach out to someone, but that's actually time when you should. And I know it's difficult. I know when I was going through something for like 2 years and lost my job and I couldn't get in, I just, everything was like, I lost everything. It was difficult, and I didn't want to, and mine was 9 months. I'm just going to tell you, that's probably the worst. I'll talk about that later as I share my story. But 9 months of depression, I have to say, was a big, dark cloud. And so you want to reach out, and they might not want you to reach out, but that's the time you should. Just like if somebody's dealing with diabetes, or somebody, or somebody's dealing with cancer. You don't just, somebody who's dealing with cancer, they're going to have really high days and low days. You're just not going to say, oh, I don't want to talk to this person. She has cancer. I just can't be with her. She's in a bad mood. So think of, with people who are withdrawn because they're suffering from a depressive state, and that this is just like cancer. This is a life altering thing happening that can end in death. And you, just like you would think a positive, fuck cancer or whatever that people always say, depression is very similar, I believe, to something like cancer, because the person who's dealing with it can't change. They can't help it. They can't it's not their fault, and they're, you know, people think just snap out of it. It's never going to be a just snap out of it, because it's not. It's deeper than that. It's not something where you're just feeling blue and you're feeling, you know, oh, you know, my life is meaningless and that kind of thing, or I just lost a job and I'm sad. This is deeper than that. This is when somebody's withdrawing from life itself, drawing from people they know, their whole personality has changed, and they don't want to be in the world, and they want to just kind of, you know, put the covers, so to speak, which really happens, literally, could put the covers over their eyes. And so we as caregivers, we as people who are dealing with mental depression, need to recognize some of those signs. Withdrawing from life, particularly, and especially if somebody's thinking about suicide, that's the #1 reason to act. And so that's one sign we're going to talk about, we talked about, and we're going to talk about something else tomorrow. So I hope this was helpful and understanding some of the signs. And tomorrow, you know, think about stepping up. What's your step up moment? That's what we are focused on this week. Step up moment. What can you do to impact someone who's dealing with mental health? And how can you help your own mental health? And have a good day. Bye, guys. Peace.